Alright, so this is just going to be a quick lesson about slash chords. Now, very generally, slash chords are just a triad over a bass note. So actually, they're quite simple to understand, and they can be analysed just like any other chord, sort of just based on the notes that you're playing. Now, in lead sheets, you'll see them notated as a letter slash another letter. And the way you read that is a chord over a bass note. So for example, a D major over a C. Now, slash chords exist because 1, they're an easier way of notating complex chords. 2, it gives you a ready-made chord voicing that you can use rather than sort of having to think of your own chord voicing for a particular chord. And 3, because it tells you the bass note you should be playing, it essentially gives you your bass line. So you'll often find that slash chords are used when there's a descending chromatic bass line or when there's pedal point, like for example in the song Green Dolphin Street. Now you can use whatever inversion of the triad that you like, but generally the second inversion of the triad is used because that really gives you the strongest sounding chord and the strongest voicing, because it gives you sort of slightly bigger intervals at the bottom of the chord and a smaller interval at the top of the chord, which is just a general voicing rule to give you a stronger sounding voicing. Now, as I said before, slash chords can be analysed like any other chord, so let's now do exactly that. Now, if we have C over C, that's just a root position C major chord. Right, nice and easy. A D flat over C can be a D flat 7 or a C sus flat 9 flat 13. There's your flat 13, there's your flat 9, there's your 4, which makes it a sus. A D over C gives you either a D7, a C major 13 sharp 11, or a C13 sharp 11. Again, there's your 13, there's your 9, there's your sharp 11. An E flat over C just gives you a simple C minor 7 chord. An E over C gives you a C major 7 sharp 5 chord. An F over C just gives you a straight F major inversion. A G flat over C gives you a C7 flat 5 flat 9. A G over C gives you a C major 9 or a C minor major 9. An A flat over C gives you an A flat major chord or a C7 sharp 9 flat 13 chord. Again, there's your sharp 9, there's your flat 13. An A over C gives you a C13 flat 9. Again, there's your third, there's your 13, there's your flat 9. A B flat over C gives you a C9 sus or a C minor 11. And finally, a B over C gives you a C major sharp 9 sharp 11 or an altered C diminished chord or a C minor major 7 flat 5 chord. So up here in the picture-in-picture, I've written the slash chord notations, the notes that you're playing, the actual chord that you're playing, and then the scale you can use to improvise over each of those chords. Now, as you can see, slash chords can be a bit ambiguous because they're often missing a few notes or a few chord tones. And very often you'll find that they're actually missing thirds and sevenths, so technically they can be either major or minor or dominant 7 or whatever. But you do have to take note of the extensions and alterations that you're playing to make sure that they're an acceptable tension over the particular chord type. So for example, the slash chord D over C doesn't actually have a third or a seventh. Instead, we just have the root, the 13th, the 9th, and the sharp 11. So that means this chord can be a C major 13 sharp 11 or a C dominant 13 sharp 11, but it can't be a C minor 13 sharp 11 because minor chords aren't allowed to have sharp 11s. So that is, a sharp 11 is an available tension for major and dominant chords, but it's not an available tension for minor chords. Or similarly, the slash chord G over C has the major 7th, the B, but no third. So that means it can be a C major 9 or a C minor major 9. depending on whether the scale that you're playing to improvise over the top of that slash chord has a minor third or a major third, and therefore either implying a C major 9 or a C minor major 9. And generally the bass note sounds like the tonic. So in all of these examples, most of the chords I've listed are C chords, with the few exceptions of just the straight F major inversions or A flat major inversions. Now, while major triads are the most common in slash chords, you can have other types of triads, like diminished, augmented, or minor triads in slash chords. For example, an E flat minor on C is just a C minor 7 flat 5. And you can also have seventh chords as slash chords. So for example, a D minor 7 over G is a very common way to voice a G9 sus chord. And so you can have major 7, minor 7, dominant 7, minor major 7, augmented 7, half diminished, full diminished chords, all as part of a slash chord. And these are analysed in exactly the same way. Now, this idea of simplifying chord notation by breaking the chord up into smaller components is used in a few other concepts as well. So we have slash chords, which are a triad over a single bass note. Then we also have things called upper structures, which is a triad over two bass notes, usually a tritone. And I have a separate video on upper structures if that's something you want to learn. And then we also have polychords, which is a triad over another triad, so three bass notes in a sense. So for example, we could have D major on C major. And that also gives you a C major 13 sharp 11 chord, but a much sort of fuller one because you're playing three notes in the bass instead of just one. And just in terms of notation, slash chords are usually notated as a letter slash a letter, whereas a polychord is notated as a letter with a horizontal line over another letter, so it looks like a numeric fraction. So that's really it for slash chords. As you can see, they're pretty simple and straightforward. Essentially, you just have to break down the slash chord into the individual notes and analyze it in terms of what chord you're implying, based on the notes that you're playing. And so when you're learning new jazz standards, you will come across slash chords relatively often, and hopefully now you'll sort of understand what they are, how to play them, how to think about them, and how to analyze them in the context of the chord progression. Otherwise, thanks for watching, guys. See ya.